Support for I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere is made possible by the Wessex Press, the premier publisher of books about Sherlock Holmes and his world. Find them online at wessexpress.com. And the Baker Street Journal, the leading publication of Sherlockian scholarship since 1946. Subscriptions available at bakerstreetjournal.com.
I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, episode 72, The Sherlockian Tannenbaum.
I hear of Sherlock everywhere since you became astronomer.
In a world where it's always 1895, comes I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, a podcast for devotees of Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the world's first unofficial consulting detective.
I've heard of you before. You're Holmes the meddler, Holmes the busybody, Holmes the Scotland Yard Jack in office.
The game's afoot as we discuss goings-on in the world of Sherlock Holmes enthusiasts, the Baker Street irregulars, and popular culture related to the great detective.
As we go to press, sensational developments have been reported.
So join your hosts, Scott Monty and Burt Wolder, as they talk about what's new in the world of Sherlock Holmes.
You couldn't have come at a better time!
Ha! This is it. This is it, the final show of the year. Welcome to I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, the first podcast for Sherlock Holmes devotees where it's always 1895.
Yes.
I'm Scott Monty.
You are, and I'm Burt Wolder. And boy, it's great to get to this last show. I've got everything packed up. The house is sold. All the furniture is gone. I've got my flower print Hawaiian shirts, and I'm ready for that happy retirement in Puerto Vallarta. And where are we meeting exactly? Are we meeting at the bar, or are we meeting at the beach?
On the Lido deck.
The Lido deck. I'll be there.
Yes.
I'll be there.
Although, the poop deck would be just as appropriate this time of year. And there's plenty of scatological humor to go around in this entire show. So
yes.
Stay tuned, folks.
Yes, there is.
Well, the cadence of our shows of late has been a little skewed because we're under some crunch time. We have some time-limited things we did want to get in before the end of the year. And, of course, December 27th every year to Sherlockians everywhere marks Blue Carbuncle Day. And why is that, Bert?
Well, that's the day that, as everyone knows, December 25th is Christmas, December 26th is Boxing Day. And when you receive your Blue Carbuncle on December 26th, and you're eager to return it on the morning of December 27th, you get up early, clutch the receipt, and go down to your nearest department store to get in line.
I thought it was the day I got goosed.
Oh, you've come a cropper again, Monty.
No, what can I tell you? Well, of course, this marks, I know, a lot of Sherlockians on Christmas like to stay up late and read The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. Of course, we are told in the original story that 2 days after Christmas, Watson paid a visit to Mr. Sherlock Holmes to wish him the compliments of the season. And, of course, Sherlockians everywhere, when they exchange holiday greetings, whether it's on Facebook or in good old-fashioned holiday cards, they do the Sherlockian equivalent of wishing each other happy holidays, the non-denominational compliments of the season. It's really a phrase that I think serves us well.
It is. Very well done.
Yeah. And we had in our mind the notion that we would bring back one of our previous guests. We've had a number of repeat guests on the show of late. Of course, we had Andy Solberg and Bob Katz earlier in the year because they had edited yet another book. We had Mike Whalen on, the head of the BSI, in episode 71. And, of course, we are honored to dip our ladle back into the proverbial soup that is the IHO's guest list. And we came out with, who is it again, Bert?
Bum, ba, ba, dum, bum, bum, ba. It is the one, the only, Peter, Blau.
Ah! Well, welcome back to the show, Peter. I guess we haven't had you on since some of the very earliest episodes, back in the single digits, if I recall.
Many years, but who's counted?
Yeah, indeed.
You're supposed to keep track of episode this, that, and the other one.
I know, and there, we record these mostly in order. This, of course, is a special episode because it's being aired first on Carbuncle Day, which, of course, is the second day after Christmas. And the reason we wanted to have you on the program was because, as you know, well, I hope you know, I paid you a visit this summer to your home.
Yes.
And we had a grand time. And
celebrated Christmas in the summer.
Well, it's always Christmas at the Blau household because, of course, you have a very special tree that was up in your library. And the reason we wanted to have you on the show was to talk about this tree. So this is would you call it a Sherlockian Christmas tree? Or
Well, my nice sister-in-law, Kelly, who created this, calls it a Sherlockian Tannenbaum.
Sherlockian Tannenbaum. Okay,
Tannenbaum.
That works.
And it was a very traumatic experience for me back in 1972 when I went up to Pittsfield for Christmas with my family. And there was, for me, sitting on a table, a small Japanese plastic Christmas tree and a half-bushel basket full of small wrapped packages, which turned out to be ornaments, which my nice sister-in-law had made for the tree. One ornament for each of the 60 stories. And the deal was that I had to identify the stories before the ornaments went on the tree. And some of them are really easy. I mean, there was a red circle for the red circle.
Okay.
And some of them were very difficult. And I managed to identify all of the ornaments except one.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that one in a moment. I don't want to give it away quite yet.
All right.
But you were able to identify 59 of the 60 ornaments in that one sitting?
Well, no. You see, I didn't have a copy of the Sherlock Holmes stories with me.
Uh-oh.
And I wasn't keeping count. So there are more than 60 ornaments because there's a Holmes and there's a Watson. But I had identified all of the ornaments.
Okay.
Except for one.
Okay.
And it was very frustrating.
So you mentioned the red circle. Obviously, that has great meaning to you because of the red circle of Washington, D.C. And obviously, that's fairly easy to identify. And we've got photos of some of these that we're going to put up on the website and on our special I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere app for the people that actually pay for and have downloaded our app. They'll get special access to these photos in high res. So of course the red circle, that's easy. There seems to be a bearded fellow holding a bottle and a silver-tipped stick in one hand, and he's got a black beard. What could that be, Peter Blau?
Everybody who has seen my Sherlockian calling card recognizes Black Peter.
And of course, he's holding a bottle of rum, exactly. Very good. So, and then of course, keeping in the Christmas spirit, looks like there is a goose with a googly eye there, and he's about to swallow, looks like a bluish-colored marble or something. That, of course,
that's a real blue carbuncle.
Of course. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
And what's really wonderful about these ornaments is that they are a labor of love by my nice sister-in-law. because, as she explained, in order to make these ornaments, she had to read all of the stories, and she didn't like Sherlock Holmes.
Wow.
Did she feel differently at the end? Did she feel differently? Did she feel differently at the end, Peter, after she'd read them all?
No, she's an Agatha Christie fan.
Oh.
Well, close enough.
But just out of love, she read all of the stories.
Well, how long did it take her? I mean, not to read the stories, but to make all the ornaments. It must have taken at least 60 days.
I've always been afraid to ask her how long it took.
What are the ornaments made out of? Are they all made out of the same stuff or different
Well,
things?
some of them are authentic, I guess. There is
here's
the
one we
missing
got a picture
3/4 is there. It's
how do you make a missing 3/4?
You I guess you get an hacksaw and you cut 1/4 out of a quarter.
Oh, that's
and leaving
great.
behind the missing 3/4.
That's great. Now I notice. So the goose that we just mentioned from the Blue Carbuncle, that's made out of felt and is stuffed.
Yeah. Most of them are made out of felt.
Right, but there's one. I've been trying to figure out what this one is. It's an oil can, a little 1 ounce household oil can with an easy spout, and there's something on the front of it. I can't quite make out what it is.
Well, the story of that is that was not made by my sister-in-law Kelly, but after some years of bedeviling people with this tree here in Washington, the late Norm Davis came one year with this small package saying that his father had heard about this tree and had created an ornament that really ought to be on the tree. So it's the only ornament on Kelly's tree that wasn't made by Kelly. And it is this small can, emptied out, of 3-in-1 oil on which is glued a small pine cone.
A pine cone, okay.
A pine cone, yes.
A pine cone on an oil can.
Right.
Bert?
Yes.
You must know what this is.
Well, of course. It's a mix between tautology and symbolism. And since there's no exorcist present, I don't know that I could possibly give voice to something that's so sacred to the Zarathustrian way of life. But I thank you for asking.
So that's that means you pass.
But
I'll take ornaments for 200, Alex.
I tell people that if they can describe it, in words, they'll solve the puzzle very quickly. And I hold this out, and I say, "What is it?" And they say, "Well, it's
an oil can,
or
a can of oil,
or
a cone."
It's Conan Doyle.
Yeah,
Conan Doyle.
Oh, very clever. I like that a lot. It's a
Conan Doyle, of course. That is really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
That is great.
Years ago, Alan Sherman, the parodist, had a song lyric in which he sang Sir Arthur Conan and Doyle, both great, he said. and this is the best thing I've heard about Conan Doyle since then. I like that, Conan Doyle.
This is really, really great. Oh.
So before on a Sunday before Christmas, we invite some people over to trim the tree, and I always try to have a few people who have never seen it before, and they get to sit at the table and identify the ornaments before they go on the tree. That's what I do on December 24th. I take all the ornaments off the tree. That's the one day where the tree is naked. And then people get to identify them before the ornaments go back on the tree. And sometimes these are people who've actually read all of the stories and remember them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there are people who need help.
Well, now, what did she do for the Valley of Fear?
Well, the Valley of Fear is a small felt hand and wrist. And on the hand is a golden wedding ring, and on the back of the hand is the triangle and a circle, the brand of the Scowrers.
Oh, that's very clever. Oh, nice.
Now I see it looks like a felt-covered card table.
Well, no, that's an actually wooden card table. Wait a minute, a card table. Are we looking at the same picture? Right in the middle, there is a wooden table with papers on it.
Yes.
Okay,
it looks like they're playing cards, right?
Oh, no, let's see. Where's the table with playing cards?
Well, it sounds a lot like Brenda Tregennis to me.
Okay, there is, in the Sherlock Holmes stories, a table with playing cards on it.
Yeah, sounds like Brenda Tregennis.
Yes. Yeah, they were playing whist in the Cornish in Devil's Foot.
Yes, indeed.
No playing card. Well, actually, there's a wooden table with newspapers on it and a lamp.
Oh well, that's the Devil's Foot.
It was already said, but the other the card table is from the empty house.
Oh, of course.
Came right from the gambling club.
Right.
Oh.
That makes sense.
The fashionable world, yes, and Ronald.
Yeah.
Bert,
I sent you. I sent you a copy of the photo, Bert.
Oh, thank you.
Via Skype, so if you want to check it out there.
I'm sure it'll be here in about a week or two.
So when do I get to tell the story about the silly red fish?
Yeah. So this one perplexed me because there were others on here that I could figure out. Obviously, there's a snake, there's a dancing man, etc. But when it came to this red fish with scales,
well, I had a problem with that because I had identified everything else, and the red fish in the Sherlock Holmes stories is it's a pink fish tattooed on Jabez Wilson, but I already had an ornament for the Red-Headed League, so it couldn't be the Red-Headed League. And
it's not a trout, is it?
No, it was time for the Christmas dinner. And it really was an upsetting Christmas dinner because my bratty little niece kept saying, I know what it is. And my father would occasionally say, if you can't figure that out, I'm going to tell Julian Wolfe. He may take your investiture away from you. So after Christmas dinner, I decided that I was going to have to do something about it. So I sat down on a piece of paper, and I wrote down on the piece of paper the names of all of the 60 stories. And that's not easy to do if you don't have a copy of the Sherlock Holmes stories.
How long did that take
Because all
you?
of my books were in Washington, and I was in Pittsfield. The only person I've ever known who could just sit down and zip off all 60 stories was Wayne Swift. And he could do it because he deliberately memorized them. So if you want to have some fun, sit down. You're not going to do this now because I allow people 3 minutes.
Oh,
to write down
3 minutes? That's unheard of.
Well, you could do the 4-letter Quist codes, and anyway, nobody's ever been able to do it.
That's a challenge. Hey, here's an assignment for everyone at home. Over the holiday break, sit down with a piece of paper, number it from 1 to 60, all right, and then start a timer, on your smartphone or, set an egg timer or what have you, and see how long it takes you to write down every single story from the Canon without looking at any kind of reference. And then email us, and maybe we'll give a prize to the person that does it in the least amount of time, but it has to be documented. So good luck with that.
It's a very interesting exercise because most people wind up with 54 or 55, and they can't remember the ones they've missed.
And
people
when
try doing all the colors and all the numbers and all the places. And whatever you do, you're going to miss some.
So what was your method when you sat down in that Christmas of 1972 in Pittsfield and set out?
I just sat there and stared at the piece of paper.
And they popped out at you?
And it took me more than 3 minutes. But it helped that I could write down the ornaments. You know, here was a 3/4. I put that with the missing 3/4, and I had the ornaments to sort of remind me. I'd look at it and say, all right, now what was that sailboat? Ah, yes, it was the Gloria Scott. And I finally got to the point where I had all 60 stories and 60 ornaments. And this red fish was left over. And that's what it finally dawned on me, that my malicious sister-in-law had included a red herring.
That's cruel.
Very clever.
Yes,
That's cruel. Oh, she must have had a great time at your expense.
Yes. Everybody did.
Wow.
And the nice thing about my party is that I pretty much know them all now. So.
Right.
I would hope so, yeah.
Let's hope so, right? You are the walking key.
Well, speaking of the key, what is that? I see the photo now next to the oil can. What is that golden key?
I'm sorry. Having trouble understanding you.
I see I'm looking at the photo, and next to the oil can, there's a yellow key, a golden key.
Well, that's one of the obvious but extremely tough ornaments to identify, because it is the important clue in the story.
The sign of 4.
No. And the reason it's there is it's an important clue because it wasn't there in the story.
The crooked man.
Yes.
Oh, well done. Well
Missing
done.
Key. Good for you.
That's very clever.
That is interesting.
Huh. But if you come here in December, we'll be happy to let you take the quiz for real. And I don't want to say that there's no pressure on people, but we don't bring out the food for everybody until all the ornaments are on the tree.
Nice. So you got this tree and all of these ornaments in 1972.
Yep.
Obviously, you took them back with you to Washington, set them up. But
yep.
When did you first start your tree trimming party?
I don't know. I don't keep track of these things. 1970-something, I'm sure. I'm trying to think. Probably 75 or 76.
Okay. So it's been an ongoing tradition for nearly 40 years then.
Yes, yeah. And very few of the ornaments have worn out.
Well, how does an ornament wear out anyway?
Well, some of them aren't just floppy felt. Some of them, if someone picks them up the wrong way, they can break something.
I see.
But almost everybody is almost always very careful.
Yeah. Well, this sounds like with John Bennett Shaw's chocolates. They need to be preserved at some point, right?
Yeah.
And any future plans for the tree and the ornaments?
Well, the tree has got to go to Houghton.
Put it down in the vault next to Charles Dickens's cane.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Well, and next to the powder blue Peter Blau jacket.
Well, now there's a slight problem there, is that I had brought that spectacular blue jacket that Scott Monty wore impersonating me at an annual dinner. I had brought that to Cambridge to transfer it formally to the BSI archives at the Houghton Library. And that was the year the marathon bomber struck.
Oh.
Oh, right.
And we never got out of the
Never got
hotel.
there.
Oh.
We had to cancel the meeting of the BSI Trust at the Houghton. So that jacket is still hanging in my closet, waiting to be presented. Houghton doesn't. Nobody at the Houghton knows this is going to happen. Well, I mean, they may not know right now, but in 3 or 4 days, if anybody listens to the podcast, they will.
Well,
They will, right.
That'll give them plenty of time to change their address. Yeah.
Well, the Smithsonian, the Museum of American History, has Ted Baxter's jacket from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So there is a precedent there, among other things. So, Peter, speaking of 40-plus years, you sent out a note recently to the hounds of the Internet, sharing something that I've seen published a few times in under your press, the Spermaceti press, that is. Particularly, I remember it as an insert for one of the Baker Street Irregular Dinners one year. But it was your treatise on the a couple of the questions behind the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle, in particular, identifying the Blue Carbuncle as the actual gem and perhaps the misidentification of a certain part of the goose. Would you like to share with our audience a little bit of your wisdom from that piece? And with your permission, if you wouldn't mind us actually publishing it along with the show.
This was a very scholarly paper that I presented to the Sons of the Copper Beeches in Philadelphia. And I did what everybody who does a scholarly paper does, is you go through the literature and you figure out what other people had said about the Blue Carbuncle, and of course they were all wrong. And one of the questions about the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle is whether geese have crops. How could you find a gem in the crop of a goose when ornithologists will quickly tell you that geese don't have crops?
So, and for folks that aren't familiar, the Blue Carbuncle was jammed in the crop of a goose. And Peter, you're saying that physically, anatomically speaking, geese do not have crops.
That's what the scholars such as J. Finley Christ proposed.
Christ said that. Okay.
And one of his correspondents, Mildred Salins, did a great deal of research on it, and the basic conclusion was that no, geese do not have crops. So I had to figure out just how the Blue Carbuncle could have been found in a goose's crop, and I explained to the Sons of the Copper Beeches that it was a misprint, that the typesetter had mistaken Conan Doyle's A and wrote down O.
So
Bev is sitting here. She just got it.
for those playing along at home, the scatological reference then.
Yeah. So the goose had a cough, so it was a croup. I gather. Right?
Croup. No, not quite. So Mrs. What was the Mrs. Peterson?
Yes.
Then would have had to be investigating a very different area of the goose to discover the Blue Carbuncle. Interesting.
Well, one would hope so.
Ah. Well, that's a fine piece, and maybe we could reproduce it for our readers and listeners for them to take a look at directly. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I want to add that I am right now sitting here looking at a drawing of a Christmas tree, and the drawing it's just a little sketch. It was done by Christopher Morley. And everybody can see the sketch. because it's on a letter that he sent to Edgar Smith at Christmas in 1949. And the letter is up at the website of the Baker Street Irregulars Archives at the Houghton. So if you go to the Trust's website, which is bsitrust.org, and explore the archive, and it's a Morley letter from 1949. And Christopher Morley has drawn a Christmas tree with a ornament, Sherlock Holmes actually smoking a pipe on the top of the tree. But it was in this letter, it was the first time that Christopher Morley's wonderful Christmas poem appeared. He wrote this in a letter to Edgar Smith in 1949. And the poem, Morley's title is Te Deum Laudanum. And it says, what opiate can best abate anxiety and toil? Not aspirins, nor treble gins, nor love, nor mineral oil. My only drug is a good long slug of tincture of Conan Doyle.
That's a classic right there.
And that was reprinted in the Baker Street Journal some years later, and I never knew where it came from. And it came from this letter that he wrote to Dear Thorny and Thornycroft Huxtable, which is the pen name that Edgar Smith used. And he just sat down and dashed off this poem and drew the little Christmas tree. And there's a dog, too. I don't think it's the Hound of the Baskervilles. But you can see Morley's artwork and the first appearance of the poem for yourself at the BSI Trust website.
That is great. We'll have a link to that in the show notes for folks that are listening along. And this, Peter, this is one of the things we talked with Mike on the last episode about, and that is the digitization of the BSI archives that's going on at Harvard right now. And this is the kind of thing that, this would be squirreled away, and it could be seen by researchers or those dedicated enough to make their way up to Cambridge and rifle through the assortment. But now, with the speed of the Internet, this is a lost treasure that can be shared with a much wider audience very quickly.
I think that the modern practice of digitization is astounding. There is so much stuff out there that you can find so easily and see in such high quality and in full color. I just shudder to think of the days that I spent sitting at microfilm machines spooling through these reels of microfilm in black and white, trying to get decent prints or copying it down and discovering that some microfilmer had missed a page. Now they just digitize this stuff. And you can sit and turn the pages with your finger.
Yeah. Never before has so much been scanned by so few for so many.
Well, there's still a lot to be done because Google and the other people stop at the end of 1922 because they don't want to get into trouble over copyright. But I figure that right now the people at Google are gearing up to do one more year because it's going to be a rolling, everything goes into the public domain.
Right. Well, this has been fascinating, Peter. I think, your own Christmas story, ironically from someone of the Jewish faith, it's always welcome.
It's not a problem. I mean, after all, he was a Jew.
That's true. That is true. Santa Claus came along and ruined the whole thing for everyone, I think.
Thank you for calling, and I'm happy to wish you 5 days in advance the best of the season on the second day after Christmas.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's wonderful to talk to you, and we're really looking forward to seeing you in January.
Absolutely. All right. Many thanks.
All right. And, of course, our sponsors are standing by. Out in the hallway. We've made them wait this entire time, and they're so patient.
They really are. Well,
Aren't they?
you know, I've left them some paper cups so that the bottled water can be sampled, but, you know, it's all they deserve. If they increase the rates, we'll give them mugs next year.
That's not a bad idea. iHose mugs.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we proudly are sponsored by the Wessex Press, Gassagene Books. WessexPress.com is where you can find them. And this year, I actually just saw the news break this week at the vendor's room at the BSI weekend. A new book will be available.
Good God.
Sherlock Holmes and Conan Doyle in the Newspapers, Volume 1, 1881 to 1892.
Good God.
Yeah, edited by Matthias Bostrom, who wrote a groundbreaking book called Fran Holmes till Sherlock. It's been translated from its original Swedish into a couple of other languages, and English is not yet among them, but I know that is a future one that he's working on. And he edited and annotated that Sherlock Holmes and Conan Doyle in the Newspapers, along with Matt Laffey, our very own Matt Laffey. So that'll be an interesting publication. It will be available for sale on WessexPress.com the day after the BSI weekend.
Excellent. Well, that's very good news. And then, of course, the Baker Street Journal and the Christmas Annual. Well, I understand the Winter Journal is in the mail. I've seen rumor about that, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's on its way, and the 2014 Christmas Annual is rumored to be on its way as well.
Yeah. And what's the subject? I don't remember what that is.
Douglas Wilmer.
Oh, right. The one actor who got it right.
Exactly. Our very own Douglas Wilmer BSI.
Yes,
so,
excellent.
and unfortunately, you cannot get that BSJ Christmas Annual yet, but what you can do is take out a subscription for 2015. And I actually just today, I took out a gift subscription for a couple of people I had join us at the Friends of Irene Adler dinner on Friday night. They were so interested in attending their first Sherlockian meeting. They were absolutely gobsmacked by Dan's presentation and just all the great people around. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that we were short one great person.
Well, thank you.
Isn't that right?
Deeply regret not being there. I've been looking forward to it all year long.
Yeah. Oh, we missed you. But
Moriarty.
I know. He strikes at every corner. But I did get a gift subscription of the BSJ for 2015 to my guests. So they are avid Sherlockians and or avid Sherlockians in the making. So what that means is you can do the very same thing. If there's a Sherlockian in your life, if there's someone who's coming up in the Sherlockian world and they want to know where to get started, don't wait for them to find their own way. Steer them in the right direction. Get them a gift subscription of the BSJ and do it today.
Yes. And if you happen to know anyone who's been convicted of a low-level felony, it is a wonderful thing to do, to get a gift subscription to the penal institution of their choice. Because if you're in the slammer for 6, 8, or 12 months, what better to while those weeks away by looking at the Baker Street Journal and the Christmas Annual. You'll take them all with you when you return to society a better person.
You said penal. Oh, and I'll tell you what, it would be even more welcome at those institutions now that we've had a naked woman on the cover.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And it goes right through the metal detector because, friends, there are no staples in the Baker Street Journal.
That's true.
That's right.
Oh, that's a really, really great reason. It also goes through airport scanners much more easily. Yes,
it does. You can take it everywhere. Yeah.
And how about our friends at the Sherlock Holmes Brand Institute?
Oh, those people. Their innovations seem endless. Ladies, remember, Christmas is the time when just about everyone in your house is taking photographs. You want to look your best, but there's no time to comb and curl. That's why you need Sherlock Holmes brand Violet Hunter hair extensions. They match every color and style perfectly. And they're the only hair extensions that deliver the 3 C's. Complete cranial coverage. Don't let your head look like you were too close to the Mastiff. Ask for Violet Hunter hair extensions at your salon today.
I really hope they come out with Carlo mustard. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. That's from the same story.
Carlo right? What?
Mustard.
Oh, Carlo Mustard. What a great idea.
Yeah, Jeffro Rucastle. Yes, he said he only fed him once a day to keep him keen as mustard.
Carlo brand. Oh, that's
Carlo
a great
Keen
idea.
Mustard, yes.
Carlo Keen Mustard. It'll have your hot dogs leaping. Are you tired by consuming frankfurters that don't have that snap and pop? Try.
Ladies.
Try Sherlock Holmes brand Carlo Mustard. It'll grab you by the throat.
I could work on that one. We got to put the whole writing staff to work for the future of the Sherlock Holmes brand extensions.
Well, we also have to get people, down to customs to make sure this stuff clears.
That's true.
These big containers, when they come over from Shanghai, can sit on the docks for 6 or 8 weeks, and you miss the whole shopping season. Oh, dear.
That left me feeling a little gassy. That always makes me feel better.
I know a cue when I hear it.
I know. So this time around, we talked about this before the show. We've read the 2 days after Christmas poem for a holiday show. We've read the Morley introduction to the special BSI edition of the Blue Carbuncle. What's left? We asked ourselves, and by gum, you figured it out, Bert.
Yes, by gum. We had such a lovely time talking to Bert Coules just a few weeks ago. And among the many excerpts and looks back we did to that magnificent body of work, dramatizing the Canon, was from 1991. It was Clive Merrison. And that was still Michael
Williams.
Yep, Michael Williams, in the dramatization of the Blue Carbuncle. That wonderful scene that Bert wrote that rang so true to the characters. And so we could not think of a better way to salute the Christmas season with you all than by repeating that. And so from the pen of Bert Coules and the radio magic of the BBC, here is that extract from the conclusion of Bert's The Blue Carbuncle from 1991.
My apologies for keeping you waiting, Doctor. It was worth it to see the expression on Horner's face when he came out. Well done, Holmes. No, I mean it. There he was, off back to his family and friends. Did my heart good.
I await with interest your heart-wringing prose version.
Oh, really, old man, can't you let it drop for a second? Well, I must be getting home. It's certainly been a Christmas Eve to remember. And tomorrow, I dare say, I'll even find the children tolerable. Oh, well. Good night, then.
Watson, wait.
Holmes? Good Lord. I'd no idea it was so late. Early.
Watson.
Holmes, this is damnably rude of me, but... well, I know you dine very late, as a rule.
Absolutely true, Doctor. Are you about to tell me that I'm ruining my digestion?
Actually, I was wondering if Mrs. Hudson might stretch to providing for two.
For two?
Oh, Mary would have gone to bed hours ago, the whole household. I realise it's a dreadful imposition.
I believe I can tolerate it.
Thank you, Holmes.
Thank you, my friend. Come along, Doctor. Faces to the north, and quick march.
That's nice.
It's a lovely moment, isn't it?
It is. It is indeed. Well, and this seems to be the lovely moment for us to wish you compliments of the season, and for me to remain Scott Monty.
Well, that seems inevitable, and I'm very grateful, Bert Wolder, and the same compliments of the season to you all and to you. And together, it seems inevitable that we observe the games afoot.
You know, I'm afraid that in the pleasure of this conversation, I'm neglecting business of importance, which awaits me elsewhere.
Thank you for listening. Please be sure to join us again for the next episode of I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, the first podcast dedicated to Sherlock Holmes.
Goodbye, and good luck, and believe me to be, my dear fellow, very sincerely yours, Sherlock Holmes.